Joining me now is a man with a 17 1-1 record with an 8 KOs. He's number 4 in the WBA and WBC, as well as number 5 in the IBF and WBO and the junior mid lightweight count contenders. He also goes with the name Savage. That's Raymond Ford. Ray, appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Well, first things first. It's now been announced you're going to be going back to Saudi Arabia to fight Anthony Cacace. Obviously, in my opinion, this is going to be between two of the top guys, and possibly the winner will come out as the best fighter at 130, in my opinion. You talk about this making of this fight, though. What's your thoughts now that you know it's official, it's solidified, you know who you're going to be fighting?
Um, Wait, say that last part again.
Yeah. So now that you know exactly who you're going to be fighting, what's your thoughts now that you got a fight finally locked in?
I mean, we just gonna take it one day at a time, like how we do in any other camp. Get ready, be fully prepared, and come to dominate.
You did a little bit of an interview a couple of days ago talking about the fight, and one of the portions you said is that at first you said no to the fight. You wanted to kind of wait a little bit, see if you can go get a world title shot. What was it about that, and what led you to say, okay, it's time. I want to stay active. I'm going to go take this fight instead for the time being.
Um, just because I was gonna have to wait and just be sitting, so it just made more sense to stay active and stay in the camp and sharpen up my tools and just get another fight while I gotta wait for these other dudes to do what they do.
When you talk about Anthony Cacace, he's 24-1, former world champion. Would you say this is going to be the toughest opponent you face at this point in time?
Nah, I think my toughest opponent is myself.
All right.
Like skillfully, I don't think none of these dudes is on my level. Nobody that I fought in the past and nobody that I'm gonna face in the future. I just feel like I'm the best.
I do like that statement right there because when you talk about your resume already, you're 26 years old, you're already a world champion. You could very easily become a 3, 4 weight class champion in the future. When you talk about what's in store for your future, the goals that you have set for yourself, what are those? Where do you see yourself in, 3, 4, 5 years down the line?
I see myself on a pound for pound list, being mentioned with the best in the sport, and on top of my whichever division I'm in, just being the best in each division and just stamping my name and my legacy.
I want to go back into the Cacace fight. Obviously, I'm pretty sure I know what your answer will be here, but when you talk about that fight, what's your prediction? How do you see that fight going down?
I see it going down as a knockout. I think I'm gonna knock him out, and I really feel that. Like I'm not just saying it. I really believe that I'm gonna knock him out.
You obviously know Eddie Hearn, he's been your promoter. When you talk about the position of this fight, if you come out victorious, if you knock him out, what would be the situation next? Do you feel like that would lead to a world title shot right then, or what do you think is going to be in store for you if you get past that fight?
Maybe we just gotta wait and see. Hopefully, we could get like a title eliminator on the line or something like that. So I could be in line to fight for a world title, like basically boxing these world champions in. But I feel like if I dominate him and it look easy, people just gonna find another reason to duck me.
Hmm. Out of all the champions currently, which one would you want to fight the most?
Nunez and Oshaki, whichever, it don't matter which order.
Obviously, for Foster, he's going to be fighting Fulton pretty soon, too. Do you feel like Oshaki's going to be the one that comes out and wins that one?
I don't know. May the best fan win.
So, would you obviously want whichever one wins that fight then?
Yeah.
All right. In terms of the Sugar Nunez, I know you just met him too, just a couple of days ago at the Hitchens Cambosis fight card. When you looked at him, you kind of went through him and talked about him. What gives you confidence if you guys were to go match up and fight each other?
Just my skill set. My skill set, I feel like is better than his. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I just feel like I'm all around better fighter. He got good attributes to him too, though, but I feel like mine is more superior.
Obviously, when the day comes and you become world champion at 130, I know you also said before in the past that you know that 130 you might not stay at that for too long. How long do you think you could be at 130? Is that something you see yourself for a couple more years now, or when do you see yourself possibly moving up to 135?
Probably like a year or two.
Okay. So you'd
Yeah,
want to unify the belts first for a little bit at 130?
yeah. Try to get like two or three.
All right. Well, I want also people to get to know you a little bit better, Raymond, because obviously you have an incredible story to get to this point, become the guy that you are today. And so I know a little about your stories that when you grew up out there in Camden, you're getting in fights about when you're younger, and eventually you end up getting put in the boxing gym. Take us to that. What kind of brought you into love for boxing?
A, a kid on my block seen me fight another kid that was from my block. Well, not from my block, but he used to live on my block. But he was like I guess you could say like the bully on the block or whatever. But when I
Okay.
moved there, I be going right at people, so I don't really be. I don't give in. Like I never. That never been my personality. Like I never like fall in line. So I feel like you somebody who's supposed to be like big and bad. I'm gonna show you I'm bigger and better. So
Mm.
um, he seen me fight that kid one day, and he basically like he was a boxer. He basically took me under the wing after he seen me fight him, and I just been with him like probably like every day in that whole summer. Like I was just with him the whole time. Everybody started like thinking that was my brother, but yeah, he had a boxing when he had a punching bag in his basement. He used to have the mitts and everything, the gloves, everything, and he basically like introduced me to the sport. I'll go to his house, hit the punching bag. I would go running with him, and that's how I started.
And what age were you at when this all happened?
I was 9 at that time, but
Okay.
I got into like an actual gym when I was 10. My mom put me in.
And so would you say almost your entire life, like you said, I know you grew up kind of fighting in and out the streets and whatnot it was, but did you feel like at 10 years old then you knew you were going to be destined for greatness, that this was something that you were going to be special in terms of boxing?
I wouldn't say at 10, but I say about like around 12. I used to
Okay.
watch a lot of Floyd, and like I was like real influenced from like his lifestyle, and
Mhm.
I just knew that's like how I wanted to be. Like I wanted to be successful in life. So yeah.
As you were going on, then I also want to get into your mom because there was a documentary you did when you signed with Match a couple of years ago, talk about the importance she had in your life and just having her be someone that was moving around with you, trying to get you in the best situations, helping you out. How big was she in your life?
Mom's just mom.
Hmm.
Like she always gonna have a special place in my life.
Right.
That's Mom Dukes.
What would you say is the biggest lesson she taught you throughout your life?
Uh,
In terms of your amateur career, I do want to hop into that as well because you're 2018 U.S. National Golden Glove champion. You had an incredible amateur career. As you were going throughout that journey, then when would you say it did click though for yourself that okay, I know that I'm going to be able to make that pro jump and I'm going to have the type of career that I've had to this point?
Say it again. Sorry.
Yeah. When you were going through your amateur career, at what point did you feel like it clicked and you said, you know what, I know that I'm ready to make that pro jump. I know that I'm going to have a very successful career.
I never like to be honest, I was nervous to turn pro because
Okay.
I knew it was gonna be like different. That was like the main reason why I kinda like starred when Eddie Hearn DM me and things like that. Cause I was still kinda nervous. And I was young too. I was 18, 19 or something like that. So
Hmm.
like in my head I'm like, nah, I'm gonna be in there on TV. So that's pressure in itself. It's a bigger stage and then I'm gonna be fighting with no headgear, smaller gloves, and grown men. So that kind of was in my head. Like I ain't want to go in there and then not do what I do. You feel me? Like, that I be
Right.
doing in the amateurs. I just knew it was gonna be a different game. But as time went on, I started to settle in and get comfortable and things like that. But yeah, I never felt like you never going to really feel like you ready for well for me anyway. Some other people may be different, but
Right.
as far as myself, I just felt like I was just gonna learn on the job.
When did you start to feel like you settled down and it became a little bit easier for yourself when you made the jump to the pro ranks?
Um, damn, I'm trying to think like a specific. I want to say when I fought Medina. Richard
Okay.
Medina. Yeah,
Yeah. What was it about that fight? Why did you feel like everything just came together and you felt more comfortable at that point in time?
I really don't know.
It just all happened then?
Yeah, I feel like that was like one of my best camps. Besides, like the last sparring session, I had messed my hand up.
Hmm.
So like, and I messed it up real bad too. So like, if you like really watch the fight, I really wasn't throwing my left hand that much, and like when I did throw it, I wasn't like really putting nothing on it for. I was just making him like I was pump faking it, like making him think I'm really gonna sit down on it, but I wasn't.
Okay.
No, no diddy. That sounded good, but yeah.
I also want to ask about that component because I know you've had different injuries before your career. That's obviously one of them right there. I know also we go to the next ball fight. We'll go into a little bit deeper in a minute here too. But in those situations, you go through tough circumstances right before fights occur. And obviously you're going to the fight not at 100%. I know a lot of boxers are never going to go into the ring at 100%. But you've always found a way to still go out there and perform at a high level, regardless of what happens. Even in the Nick Ball situation, I had you up 115, 113 that scorecard there. You
Yeah.
just look at those situations. How do you do that? Because a lot of boxers don't do that. How do you still go out there and perform at such a high level?
It's just the mentality.
All right.
Like early on in the fight, it just wasn't clicking. Like I couldn't. I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it.
Mm.
But then it was like as time went on, it was like fuck it. You just gotta you gotta fight. But a lot of people in that situation, they would have pulled it up and they just would have gave in. They probably would end up getting stopped. Or you feel me? Like whatever. Like a lot of people they don't got the type of mentality I got. But I'm a person that's never gonna give in. I'm always gonna try to find a way to win. And yeah, but yeah, I'm a fighter. That's just the fighting mentality that I got.
Have you always had that mentality, or did that take a little bit of time to develop and fine tune?
Nah, I always been a fighter.
Right.
Like my mentality didn't don't come from boxing. That's just how I was
Okay.
as a kid. That's just how I am.
Going a little bit more into the Nick Ball situation, when you're going through that fight, obviously your world title's on the line, and I know the weight cut was a little bit difficult for yourself. At any point in your mind, were you thinking, is this the right opportunity for me? Is this the right situation? Or just what was going through your mind as you're trying to get through that weight cutting process?
I felt like I could do it like in the beginning of camp,
Mm.
but like as time went on, it was just like, yeah, I don't know. And then they had me doing too much. I was doing all the promotion and things like that. So I couldn't really like fully lock in how I needed to.
Mm.
And then when we got to Saudi Arabia, I felt like I was gonna make it out there because it was hot. It was like extremely hot. But
Yeah.
I don't know, like that last week, the weight wasn't just it wasn't coming off. And I told them like I don't think I'm gonna make the weight. And I took like a day off. Like I guess my body needed rest or whatever because I was training so hard to try to get it off. And I remember Teray, he was like, "That's because you working too hard. You gotta like you gotta relax." Because I'm in my head, I'm just stressing about making the weight. I didn't think I was gonna make it, so I took like a day off. I want to say it was like Tuesday. It was either a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It might have been a Wednesday. I
Okay.
took like a Wednesday off, and then the next day I got in the tub, and I ended up losing like 2.5 pounds in the tub.
Mm.
And then the following day after that, I didn't work out. The following day after that, I ain't really eat nothing. I just pretty much just dried out. The next day, I think I woke up like another pound under, and I was just chilling. I was cool because I think I was either I was like 126 point something,
Okay.
and then I didn't eat nothing that whole day. So it was that Thursday? Yeah, I ain't eat nothing that whole day, and then the next day I woke up under. I was like 125.2.
Mm.
So I'm like, oh nah. I'm like, what the hell? So then I went to go drink a milkshake. or something. They had like some milkshake or something at the little hotel place we was staying at. I drank one of them, and I think I gained like 2 ounces or something.
Mm.
And I'm like, damn, I ain't even mean that. That like people probably thought I came in like that on purpose, but I really didn't. It really was the tub that did that.
Mm. I want to ask about the weight cutting process. I know it's been very controversial the past couple of weeks, especially since the Keyshawn Davis situation happened, and it's the weight cutting process as a whole. And what I respect about you is that you still always want to make weight so far. Obviously, you've done an incredible job at that. How
Mm.
important is it to you to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to go according to what the rules are, what I'm supposed to go do? How important is that to you?
It's, to be honest, it's a lot of times where I was like, fuck it, I'm about to just not come in on weight. But then they started getting to talking about taking money and all that. I'm I'm like, nah, I gotta figure some shit out. They ain't about to take, cause I think with the Nick Ball fight, they was telling me, cause when I was telling them I wasn't gonna make the weight, they was talking about like, I want to say like they was trying to take like 50,000 like a half pound or something. It was something like that, but they was trying to take like 50,000 or some shit like that. But I'm like, nah, I ain't. That defeat the purpose of why I came out here. I came out here for the money. It is like if y'all taking it, then it's like I came out here for no reason. I
I
could
know
have
you.
just moved up
I know you did say that you knew it was already going to be something that was a little bit. You were iffy to say if you were to make weight all the way back when you first started the training camp for that. So did you
here.
know heading into the Nick Ball situation that you were moving up to 130 after that fight, regardless of what happened?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
That's why I really didn't give a fuck, bro. I went
Okay.
after the fight. I wasn't sad or nothing. Like I was cool.
Mm.
I was laughing and everything. Like I ain't after I got my stitches and shit. I was laughing with my team, chilling with my girl, and went home. I was cool.
What I'm sure you've rewatched the fight at some point. What did you have the fight? I said I know, and either way, I think the scorecard should have been 115, 113, whether that's for Nick Ball or yourself. Like I said, I had you winning that one. But what is your thoughts? How do you think the scorecard would have been in your opinion?
I ain't even scored. I think I
Okay.
watched it like 2 or 3 times, but I never scored it when I watched it. I just watched it to see like just to watch the fight for real, for real. Like I was a
Gotcha.
fan. I ain't really judge
Obviously, that was an incredible fight, and I know it's probably very unlikely. I don't think Nick Ball will be moving up anytime soon. But would you ever want that rematch if it was hypothetically possible to happen at 130? Would you want that rematch, or are you completely done with that chapter?
for sure.
Okay,
Like I'm done with that chapter at 126. I'm not
right,
going to entertain talking about Nick Ball when he's still at 126 because I'm not going. I'm not going down.
right.
So he move up to 130, then of course.
All right. Well, I want to go back into where we were before. Obviously, we're talking about your transition point from the amateur to pro ranks, and one of those situations I want to get into was that the Eddie Hearn portion. Obviously, you've had a great relationship with him. How pivotal and how big has he been in your career and helping you kind of grow into the person, the star that you're becoming?
That'd be cool.
I know there was one thing I saw on X you posted about a couple of days ago. It was with the Sugar Nunez one. He was calling one of the best guys in all the world. What's your thoughts on that point? I know you made a little response on Twitter about that one. So overall, just how do you take that as a promoter when you see someone like him going out there and talking about Sugar?
He got to promote his other fighter.
Right.
That's all. I just seen him promote.
Is that a relationship that you see continuing for a foreseeable future, or is that something you're still happy with Eddie Hearn?
Yeah, I mean it's cool. I don't got no bad relationship with him and nothing like that.
Okay.
It's just it's business.
Right. I also want to ask you because Zaquan Moses was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to ask you about him because when you talk about young guys, I think he's right up there, some of the top prospects in all of America right now, possibly even all the world. You could say that. How special is he?
He's special for sure. Zay got me ready for Komatar. Who else I thought that was up for? I got some rounds in with him for Gonzalez.
Hmm.
Yeah, I spar Zay a lot. Like Zay Sharp for sure.
Definitely. Also, you had another big fight, and I feel like this was one of your big moments. Reese Bellotti had when you won the WBA Continental Featherweight title, August 14, 2021 in England. Walk
Mhm.
us to that night because obviously he's put himself back in position. We're seeing how good he is. He's fighting Ryan Gardner now in a couple of months. But when you just talk about that performance, going out to another country, having the performance you had that night, what was that night for you? Like, what was that night like for yourself?
The same feeling I had about Reese Bellotti, I got that same feeling about this dude, Cacace.
All
Like
right.
I knew I was gonna knock Reese out. I knew he was gonna get in there and try to get crazy. But the thing about it, Reese Bellotti, and I feel like the same with this dude too. He was showing respect. Like you see him get in there with other people, he just going nonstop. But I feel like when you got somebody sharp in front of you and that can catch you with something that
Mm.
it can change the situation, they start to think a little bit more with they and they using their brain. So and I seen the same type of fight with Kakashi and what's
Lee Wood or
nah Josh Lawrenson. I
okay.
seen like it was moments in there where it was like early on he didn't really want to get hit with that shit. Like
Right.
I don't know though. We gonna see. But he get crazy in there with me. He going to bed.
That's what I love about your ability, and it's something else I want to touch up on because you talked about it. I'm not sure, I forget who asked you the question, but it was about the Tom and Jerry situation. And I think, in my opinion, at least for you, it's why you're one of the most entertaining guys. Is that you go out there and obviously you are one of the most skilled fighters, in my opinion, right now. Especially if we're talking about contenders right now. But you're also entertaining. You also have the ability to go catch a guy as well. When you
Yeah.
talk about balancing those two aspects of not necessarily being the guy that goes runs around, you don't get hit a lot, but still being able to apply the pressure. How do you balance those two components in today's boxing world when obviously there's a lot of debate around that?
I think it's just situational. You just gotta. It depends on how who you fighting. You just gotta adjust on the fly. Like if I feel like if I'm gonna get in there and be on, I feel like if it's a night where I gotta be on some Tom and Jerry shit, I'm gonna be on some Tom and Jerry shit. That's what I gotta do to win. So, but if I feel like I don't gotta do that, maybe we can get in that pocket with it.
All right.
I'll step to you. Like I feel like you gotta be an all around fighter. It's really whatever it take to win. So.
Now, obviously, there's a little bit different. I think some people obviously confuse the aspect of having great defense with obviously running around. When you talk about some of the situations, would you refer to like what William Skull obviously did against Canelo? Would that be something you'd be willing to do, or is that something that's even a little bit too far in your opinion?
If that's what he felt like he needed to do to win, then
All
I
right.
can't. I can't not with how people fight. He don't. As long as they not fighting like this every night,
Okay.
they giving you performances like this every night. Then I don't see what the problem is. It's game. Like you in training camp and you game playing it for a reason.
Hmm.
If that's the game plan, you can't be mad at that. That's what they working on in camp.
I like that point because I think a lot of people look at boxing. I think there's too much of a stigma between what's happened in the most recent fight. I know there's always this saying you're only as good as your recent fight. When you talk about as a boxer overall and evaluating guys, because you obviously will look at guys, for example, Cacace, you're preparing for him. I'm sure you look at multiple fights in the past so you can prepare for him. How big is it? And do you think it's a problem in boxing media where people do look too much at what happened most recently opposed to the career track record?
Yeah, definitely. They definitely you judged off your last performance. That's what they say, right? Like you
Yeah,
only as good as your last performance. So
right.
that's definitely how it is. And then they gonna love you as soon as you go in there and blast somebody in 2, 3 rounds. So it's just come with it.
When you are a boxer, and obviously when you step in that ring, all the tension will be on yourself as well as the criticism. Is that something that's easy for you to balance, or how do you handle having all the spotlight either praising you or going down on you? Is that something that's hard for you, or how do you deal with that?
I used to ain't know how to handle that.
Okay.
Now I don't give a fuck. Right?
All right.
I done been like on the good side and the bad side. So I know it's part of the game. You just gotta charge it and just take whatever come with it. Like this is the life that we chose, so you really can't complain about it. like it's going to happen. It happens to everybody. You're not always going to be on the people's good side.
Right.
You just got to embrace it though.
You said that it wasn't always a case where you're able to just ignore it, not really care about it. When did that kind of switch for yourself? What do you remember? There was a certain fight or something, or when did it all of a sudden say, you know what, I can't be looking at this stuff. I just don't care what people think anymore.
I think when I fought Eddie Vasquez,
Okay.
I was just like, after that, I'm like, all right, fucking, like, for real. Because they not, I don't, these people don't know me at the end of the day. I go home to my family, my kids. You feel me? All my people still love me, so I really don't care what nobody else got to say about me. They not in there doing what I'm doing. They on the outside watching what I do
Mm,
because they can't do it. They
right.
just they gonna talk and say a bunch of things that they would have did, but they not in there doing it for a reason.
Right.
So
I think that's a huge lesson. I think that honestly applies to just about anything in athletics, especially. But for over young boxers, how critical is that at your early age to say, you know what, I don't care about the media. I don't care what people are going to judge about me. Sure, I'll look at some criticism in terms of how to get better, but I'm not going to let it impact me as who I am as a person. How critical is that for a young fighter to develop that early on?
I mean, it's I feel like it's gonna be different for everybody. You just gotta cause I remember when Shakur was going through it, and this when I was in the amateur, like they was talking about how he ain't really like he not really putting on like crazy performance or whatever. But
Right.
I just remember him like talking about it and going through what he was going through. And
Mhm.
I didn't really think it was gonna be like that for me, but like when I was going through it, I just had to go through it on my own. So it's like you can really tell people how to deal with certain situations, but they really gotta go through it on their own. But
Yeah.
you gotta have a strong mentality.
Yeah. You know, you have the nickname Savage, and I think that perfectly suits you and how you fight and your style. But I want to know the backstory. How did that nickname actually come to fruition? How'd you get it?
Uh, somebody like one of like the older guys, he used to box too, but he gave me that name. I want to say when I was like probably 13, 12, 13 or something like that. I can't really like remember like why he called me that, why he said it, but yeah,
All right. Well, I want to go into probably one of your most notable fights that people remember you for, and that's the Ring Magazine, where you come out when you win the fight of the year. Obviously, you become a world champion, where you win your WBA featherweight championship, KO with 7 seconds remaining in that fight. I want
yeah,
to know the backstory behind it. That had to be one of the most surreal moments because obviously, looking back at the cards, you would have lost in the cards that fight. You KO
yeah.
with 7 seconds, one of the most remarkable KOs you'll see. What was going through your mind?
When I really I was tunnel vision. I ain't really I wasn't thinking about the scorecards or anything. I knew I was gonna have to go knock him out. Especially like how the first few rounds was going. I'm like, yeah, I gotta stop him. Cause I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it to box and use my legs. And then
Mhm.
like my time was off. Mind you, I was out of the ring for like 11 months. So they made
Right.
me wait, which they want me to do with Nunez too, but
Hmm.
I ain't doing it. But yeah, so he was like catching me with little shit. Like it's like I seen it, but I couldn't get out of the way. Like my timing was off. It wasn't clicking. So I just had to fight.
Mm.
Step to him, get in the inside and break him down. And as like the middle rounds came, I'm like, yeah, I got him.
Mm.
But then I think it was like the ninth round. He came out with like this energy out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, they gave him some shit in that corner for sure. It's hot as fuck. I was beating the shit out of him in the eighth round. I
Hmm.
think it was the eighth. Yeah, I was tearing him up. And then he came out in the ninth, just what hella energy out of nowhere. But
Mm.
that moment, that moment going forever be the best moment of my career.
Right. I can't even imagine what would go through your mind. I know myself sitting there, I remember watching where I was when it happened and everything, but I can't even imagine what's going through your mind. I mean, you're talking about it's as close as you're going to get to a game winner as you'll see. Obviously, in basketball, we see those things happen. You don't really see that in boxing. Obviously, you could say the Fabio Warley are technically that situation, but when
Mhm.
you talk literally on the clock, what went through your mind when you knew the count was done? You won the fight. You're world champion. You're world champion, one of the greatest KOs you probably ever have. What was the first thing just going through your mind?
Shit, I was tired as hell. I think that's the real reason why I fell to the floor. I was trying to catch my breath, but nah, it was emotional. Like it was, I can't really describe it, man. It was like an out of body experience for real, for real.
Mm.
And then like the crowd was just going crazy, so that made it like even more crazier in my head. It was just I don't know, like it was the moment was crazy.
When do you feel like it finally settled down? 'Cause like you said, I'm sure at that moment you don't even know how to react or whatever, but I'm sure eventually a couple days later you probably rewatched the fight and kind of let it settle down for yourself a little bit. What
I
was
ain't
that like?
sleep for 2 days.
Oh, for real?
I stayed no cap, like literally, I'm not playing at all. No naps or anything. I stayed. So from the fight, like the morning of the fight when I woke up, I fought. Then I had to go to the hospital. I was in the hospital till like 5 in the morning because all they had to do was stitches, but for some reason they was taking long as hell.
Hmm.
Um, so after I got out of the hospital, I drove to Jersey, and then I stayed up the whole next day. That was that Sunday. So Sunday I stayed up the whole time, and
All right.
then I drove to North Carolina Monday morning, and then I stayed up that whole time until like nighttime. No cat, like, but I was just going through, like, the whole time, like, when I was sitting, I'm just going through everything, like, watching the fight over, going through all the comments, reading
Mm.
everybody's text messages. It was just, yeah, I don't, it was crazy.
Now, did
It
you
was
even
like, it
try
was,
sleeping or?
nah, I
Oh, so
wasn't
you do? You were
tired.
to stay up then? Okay.
It was like, it was like I was in a movie or something. It was
Mm.
crazy. I got a lot of love.
At that point in time, you become world champion, and I know that's a feeling you want to taste again. Obviously, will it be in as crazy a fashion as that one? Obviously, I don't know if that's going to happen ever again, but I'm sure you want to become world champion. We talk about that. How much sweet will it be to become possibly a two-weight world champion in the near future at 130 now?
You said how much would it mean?
Yeah, how much would it mean to become a two-weight world champion at 130?
Uh, it's going. It's I don't know, to be honest. I think it's probably gonna be like. I don't think it's gonna be like another big moment for me. It
Mm,
will, cause I'm gonna be another world champion again. But
right.
yeah, I don't. It's gonna be more like I belong here. Like,
Mm,
I did it once already, so it's like now I know I can do it again. It's really just a waiting game. Like that's what's like pissing me off, cause it's like I could have just moved up, vacated, and then fought
yeah.
whoever the WBA champ was at the time. You feel me? But you live and you learn.
So going back, if you could have made a decision of moving up at 130 when you still had the belts to defy Nick Ball, would you have done that as opposed to what you ended up doing?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Cause I feel like I kind of feel like I'm being I don't want to say blackballed, but it's like nobody want to fight me. Nobody's willingly gonna
Yeah.
get in that ring with me and risk losing their title to me when they can go fight a easier fight somewhere else.
Hmm.
So like that's the frustrating part. It's just that I gotta wait in line again when I already waited 5 years to get my first world title. It's like I gotta start all over again. And I feel like it's not that hard with certain motherfuckers. Like with certain people get a title, lose their belt, and then go up in another division, it's easy to get another title shot.
That's
But
true.
for me, niggas making all type of excuses to not have to face me. And it's kind of annoying.
I know we talked about sugar a little bit ago, and I know a couple of the comments have already discussed this as well, but When you talk about that situation, I think on paper and right when he won his world title, I said, okay, both guys in match room. This is the fight that makes a lot of sense. It could easily come together. And so I have to ask you, you know more than I obviously know there. Do you have any idea why the fight's not happening? Obviously, you said you could have waited 11 months, but I'm saying obviously before the end of the year. Why, when you guys are both in match room, you're a top contender, he's obviously world champion. Why is that fight not happening in the next 6, 7 months?
They told me I was gonna have to possibly wait 12 to 16 months to
Oh,
fight
12 to
Nunez.
16?
Yeah, that's what they told me. I could be waiting 12 to 16 months to fight him. So you really gotta ask the boss man Eddie Hearn or Nunez camp, and really get to the bottom of that. I can't tell you why. Y'all
If
know
you
I'm ready to fight right now.
if you were to guess, do you think Sugar does not want to fight you right now, or do you think there's something behind Eddie Hearn wanting to keep him? I know he's probably going to do a Mexico homecoming for him, but is that part of the reason behind it, or what do you who do you think is the main person behind that?
I can't say. I
Okay,
don't want to just put the blame and point fingers at anybody specifically, but
fair enough.
what I do know is it's not happening no time soon, and it ain't because of me.
All right. Well, then we look at the table right now. You're saying that fight could be a long way out. Obviously, you're in fight Cacace. The plan and goal is to win that fight. I'm sure you want to return sometime before that. Is there another world champion that you think is realistic that we could see? Obviously, we said Fulton will be fighting in the near future against Foster. You have obviously Manuel Navarrete. We having his rematch Charlie Suarez. Are any of these things on the table? Are these things you want, or what could we possibly? And obviously, Lamont Roach would tank. Would tank. I don't know what's going to happen there, but could we see one of those? Are those more realistic for yourself?
I probably I don't think either one of Shockey or Steve Fulton gonna fight me,
Okay.
no matter who win that. So I'm gonna just exit that out right now and just take that out my brain.
Mm.
But I can see like me going the WBA route. I think Lamont probably either going to strip him or he going to vacate, and then who's I think he an interim champ. They're going to end up elevating him, and then I could face him.
Okay. So you feel that would be the most likely chance of taking Lamont Roach's belt when that opens up?
Yeah. Well, it's going
Okay.
to be somebody else, but I forget his name.
It's
The
Albert
Russian
Bot.
kid.
Yeah, Albert Bot. I
Yeah,
forgot his.
Albert.
Yeah, that guy. Okay.
Yeah,
So you feel like that would be the most likely fight opportunity you'd get for a world title then?
yeah.
Okay.
For sure. I think like that's the easiest option should be the IBF route, but like I said,
Yeah.
so we gotta, go a different direction if things don't go as planned.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds almost as if your plan would be obviously you have this upcoming fight right now, Cacace. Your goal is to win that one, getting that belt possibly, and that could
No,
potentially line
wait,
you up
what belt?
the Albert one with going against the for replacing the Lamont
Oh
Roach
yeah, yeah,
one,
yeah. I
WBA.
thought you
Yeah.
was talking about Cacace belt.
Yeah. No. So overall, you'd have those two opportunities, and at that point, that would almost get you in line with potentially finding Sugar than Nunez if he still is champion at that point. Would that be your goal then to go and immediately unify with him?
With Nunez, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Hopefully he take the fight.
Now there is a couple comments in here. I do want to address one of this. It's interesting. Obviously, I know you do have ties with Turkey Al Sheikh now, with Eddie Hearn obviously as well. Do you think that could possibly, with the way that he's making fights happen, make one of these fights occur quicker, or do you think that's just not on the table?
We just gotta wait and see. I
Okay.
I think like I go to Saudi, beat the shit out of this dude, and then they could want to see me right back. They could make the Nunez fight. So we just gotta wait and see.
Okay. All right, man. We got a few more things before I let you go. One of which is I do know is a few, I think maybe a couple months ago now, but you did discuss the fight that a Lamont Roach fight would be interesting to yourself. Obviously, I think he would be staying at 135, so that'd have to be a little bit down the road. But would that be a fight you'd want to make one day?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. I stated that like even in because I'm not gonna be at 130 as long as I was at 126. Because I
Hmm.
do want to get up in the mix with those bigger names. So um, I'm trying to do my thing at 130 and then move up and get into the bigger fights.
Do you feel like 135 is the weight class that you'll kind of settle down at them for a long time, or do you see yourself even moving up to 140 then right after 135 to a couple of years?
It depends. It
Right.
depends on who there. If 140, the stack division, money division. then I move up there if that's where all the names is.
Gotcha.
So like I think like towards the end of my career, it's gonna be about the money. Ain't even gonna be about accomplishments anymore because I'm already have
For
the
sure.
accomplishments, the accolades and everything. So
When you look at yourself, you know your body better than anybody. Obviously, I feel like 135s, you're obviously going to be able to be fine there. 140, I think you could still be fine there. Do you think you could ever push it beyond that point, 147, that ever be on the table for yourself?
I don't plan on being in boxing though, as long as I don't plan on being in boxing that long for real, to
Okay.
even make it to 147. I say 140, probably my max. That's four divisions.
Right.
I'd be cool with that.
Makes sense. You said you might not be in boxing forever. What's the timeline? When do you want to get out of boxing by?
Like 33.
Okay. So you have that number already pretty much set. Is that a reason behind that?
Yeah. I just don't want to. I don't want to waste all my time chasing a dream, a career that I had since I was 10 years old. When there's other things I could be doing, as taking a less punishment, I could possibly making more money doing it,
Right.
and I'll be able to spend more time with my kids and my family and things like that. Because boxing take a lot of my time, but I can't do the normal things that
Mm.
a regular man could do. So I can do other things. I'm not just putting all my eggs into one basket.
All right. So post boxing, what does Raymond Ford want to get into? What's the life after boxing for yourself? What's different avenues you want to get into? What's things that interest you?
I'll say like probably acting,
Okay.
doing some like brand ambassador, like modeling and things like that for brands. And whatever, not that, not doing some behind the scenes stuff, like probably managing rap artists or something like that.
Okay. So you'd want to go
Cause
down
I
the
really
rap
don't,
then?
I don't like being on the scene for real.
Okay. So would you want to go down the rap industry then, or you would want to do any managing with boxing or sports?
Nah, once I'm out of boxing, I'm done with it.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, a couple things before I let you go. One of which is that I know we kind of skipped through it all, but we were talking a little bit ago about some of your fights, and obviously, in some of them, you've had some issues or whatever the case may be, where you started a little bit slow. Obviously, you can say about the Nick Ball fight and different things like that. When you do go through a situation where you obviously start off a little bit slow, what kind of flips in the switch, and how do you kind of pull yourself out of that and say, you know what, this isn't going to be the story of tonight. I'm going to turn up now and kind of flip that switch.
You was breaking up a little bit.
I got you. I'll say it one more time. So when you obviously talk about some of those fights you've gotten into where you start a little bit slow in those fights and you
Yeah.
obviously then flip the switch later on, mid rounds, four, five, fifth round, whatever it might be, what flips in your mind and how do you get yourself to pull yourself out of being in a obviously not yourself feeling and turn around?
Uh, I want to say it really depends on how my body feel.
Mm,
Cause like a lot, like whenever I started off slow, cause I normally start off fast. Whenever I start off slow,
right.
it's mainly got to do with how I'm feeling. But it's not the styles or like they try to make it seem like I can't fight pressure fighters or anything. Every time I get in the ring with somebody, sparring or fighting, they try to pressure me because they can't box with me.
Right.
It's not gonna be smart of you to sit and try to box with me. So you
Hmm.
got your best bet is to try to make it ugly, make it rough. But it really just go off with how I'm feeling. I felt like with the Nick Ball fight, I started to loosen up a little bit, like later on. So
All right.
yeah. But my mentality is always gonna be the same. Like every second of the fight, I'm trying to win. Yeah, I'm never gonna go into a fight and be thinking about losing or
Mm,
thinking about giving in or quitting or anything like that. That's never gonna be my mentality.
all right. We talk about some of the guys you might want to fight. If I were to say list your top five guys, whether that be at 130 or your future guys that you want to fight at 135, whatever it might be, even maybe 140, like by the time you retire 33, like you said you want to do, who would those top five fights that you want to make be?
Uh Oshaki, just because, and it's not even because he a big nigga, because he really nobody for.
All right.
I just want to put hands on him because he talks so much.
All right.
Um, Javante,
All right.
Tiafimo.
Okay.
Trying to think. Yeah, that's probably it as of now.
So that'd be the three main guys you want to fight then?
Yeah.
All right. I like it. Well, I got one final question for you, Ray, and that's the question I like wrapping up every single interview with is talking about your legacy. Obviously, you still have quite a few years left in this sport, but when you do put down the gloves, what do you want to be remembered for what you've accomplished both inside and outside of that ring?
Being this being the biggest stepper that ever stepped in the ring.
All right.
The one that fought every and anybody. I never had picks. I never said no to nobody. I ain't care about the record or nothing. I went in there simply to prove to people that they're not better than me.
Absolutely. I love that, man. Well, Ray, I appreciate you for taking time to come on in, man. I cannot wait to see what guys got in store for you on August 16th, man. Keep doing your thing. Of
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
course, you always welcome on, man. God bless.
You too.